Hello everybody, welcome back to My Big Sister Podcast. My name is Grace and this is my big sister Josie.
Hello, and in today's episode we're going to be talking all about birthdays and the pressure of getting older.
If you are an audio listener, we just pointed to a little birthday jelly cat which is on the table. If you were watching on video, this is our little jelly cat. But yeah, this week we thought we would talk all about birthdays because this is a bit selfish of me, but it's my birthday this week. So it's Wednesday, the day that you're probably watching this. My birthday is on Saturday, so make sure you go wish me happy birthday on Saturday if you're watching this like in real time. But yeah, I'm turning 23 on Saturday, which is kind of scary for me.
How do you feel about turning 23?
I feel like when it's my birthday coming up, in my head I'm already like thinking I'm 23 for ages.
Yeah, I do that as well.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because like my birthday's in May, so maybe like as soon as it turns January I'm like, this year I'm going to be 23, so I always feel like I'm always like ahead in my head, because I feel like recently when people ask how old I am, I have to think I'm like, I'm 23. No,
it does get a bit like that after
like
a while.
I feel like I've been 22 for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, I think there is a thing where like depending on what month you're born, you kind of view like the year differently and you view like time a bit differently. Because for me, I'm like, I've been 22 for so long. Like
it feels like your 22nd birthday party was so long ago. Like so much has happened since then.
Yeah, like it feels like that was like the start of last year and now we're already halfway through this year. And yeah, I feel like I've just been 22 for so long. And because also before I was 22, in my head I was already thinking I was 22. So I feel like I've been 22 for like 5 years. Like honestly, I feel like it's, yeah. So I'm kind of ready to turn 23. I think as well because my boyfriend, he is in the same like school year as me, but his birthday is like right at the start of the school year. So he's been 23 for ages. So whenever I like think of us, I'm like, yeah, we're both 23. I'm like, no, I'm 22 still. So I feel like in my head I'm like, I'm 23 already.
And also this year you've been doing a lot of grown-up things, like renovating your house and things.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe I'm becoming a bit grown up.
It seems like you shouldn't be 22. Like it seems like you definitely should be 23.
Yeah. But I think one thing that does kind of scare me about turning 23 is 23 was the age that our mum was when she had you.
Was she? I thought she was 24.
No, she was 23.
I thought she was 24.
No, she was 23.
Oh.
But yeah, it does kind of scare me how like but then also it makes me feel nice because I'm like, our parents were together at 23, so it makes me feel hope that like me and my boyfriend are together now and like we could, you know, stay together like our parents and still be happy at their age.
But I do feel like our parents, I mean it was just a different generation back then, but they did have us quite young. I feel like
back in the day that was so normal
to have
kids so young,
whereas now and I think it's weird if you have a kid in your 20s. I feel like now,
yeah, I feel like if I had a kid now I would feel like a teenage pregnancy. Like I would be like scared to tell my mum, even though I'm like the same age she was when she had you.
Yeah.
But then it also does make me think, because I'm like, you know, our parents aren't getting any younger and they had kids quite young, so it does kind of make me think like if I was to have kids much later, you know, you are going to be much older when your kids are like our age. So I feel like there is some pros of having kids younger because you get to like hang out with your kids for much more years. So I feel like there is kind of like a balance of like, do I want more years on my own or do I want more years with my kids if I want kids?
But then I always just think we're also so much healthier than older generations now. Like
we're going to live much longer.
We're not chain smoking generally, like compared to how a lot of the past generations were. We're going to Pilates, we're drinking less.
Some of us are, some of us aren't.
I think we're going to be living a bit longer. So that makes me less worried about it.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. But yeah, I think it is weird to like think. I also think like, wow, our mum was so young when she had you. Like I would not know how to look after a baby. Like I don't know how she like brought you up at that age. Like it's crazy that she like managed to bring you up and have like, you know, a happy normal childhood at that age, because I'm like, that's so young.
Yeah, it's quite impressive really.
And that they like had a house to live in and everything when they were that age. But I guess just things were much kind of easier. I feel like the older generation, like things back in my day were really hard, but then when you like look at like the statistics of like the economy and everything, like
when you look at house prices compared to income, it's actually insane.
It was much easier to buy a house back then, so I feel like it makes sense why people had kids much younger, because they could have a house with that. But then I also think the divorce rate is probably fairly high for people that age, because I think people did get with their husband and wives much earlier, and then it may lead to them getting divorced, which I think
because you can grow apart, and if you're getting together that young and having kids and stuff, you're kind of set in that young age, but then you do still continue to change throughout your life.
Yeah, and I think back in those days, like, if you got pregnant, it was kind of like, yeah, we should get married now. Like, there was much less, like, birth control, and there was it was more like you kind of had to be married if you were having kids. So I feel like there was a lot more of people getting married when, like, they don't necessarily wanted to be married.
Depends how, like, far back we're talking. Because,
yeah,
like, the pill's been out since, like, the 60s.
But I'm thinking of, like, our grandparents, like, and, like, back in their day, like, it was much... Yeah, like, you kind of had to be married if you wanted to have kids. So people ended up married to maybe the wrong people, like, earlier.
Anyway, I don't really know how we got onto this topic from birthdays, but...
Yeah, but I do think, turning 23 now is so different to turning 23 back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like 23 is now seen as, like, a baby. Like, most people have just finished uni. Like, you're probably, like, I feel like most of my friends, like, you moved back in with your parents after uni. Like, I feel like going to uni has delayed... like Gen Z becoming adult, and like millennials as well. Like, I feel like because our parents didn't go to uni, they did things a lot earlier as well, which I think is a reason. Whereas now in the UK, because you have student loans, which means you can go to uni, and like I feel like most people that are 18 are encouraged to go, it kind of like delays your adulthood for like 3 or 4 years. So a lot of people like don't become an adult as fast.
And you would think that going to uni would make you learn how to be an adult, but I think it actually regresses you into being a silly child.
Yeah, like, I feel like being at uni is just not real life, like, because you have your student loan to like pay most of your bills, like, not everyone like has like a full-time job, and like you're just kind of partying all the time, and like not many responsibilities. So I feel like going to uni does delay people growing up a bit, which I don't know if is good, but I think it is nice to have those years to like kind of just have freedom and like not have too many responsibilities.
Do you feel like now that you are out of uni, birthdays feel different because it's like you're like every year it's like more and more going into the adult years?
Yeah, I feel like because I'm still in my like early 20s, I'm not that worried. Like I'm still young.
Yeah. But
then I do think, like, I will probably start to worry when I turn, like, 30. Like, for you, was turning 30, like, was that, like, a big scary thing?
I think when I was 29, it was scary. When I just turned 29, that was when I was scared about turning 30. But then when I actually turned 30, I actually loved it. So it was more like the anticipation of it rather than the actual thing.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in my 30s, I just love it because I'm just like... I don't know, I'm not feeling the effects of aging too much right now. I'm just like learning more about myself. Like I feel more comfortable and confident. Like I'm not shy as much as I used to be. I don't have as much social anxiety. I kind of know what I like. I have hobbies that I like. I don't care if I go on about knitting all the time. I'm not embarrassed about that. Whereas before, if I had like a weird little hobby, I would just be like, oh, don't talk about that. That's not cool. And now I'm like, I literally don't care. I'll just do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, I saw this TikTok that was saying how like your 20s is just your teenage years again. It's like 10 more years of your teenage years, and then your 30s is more like what you'd imagine your 20s to be like actually when you start growing up and maybe like get married or whatever.
I feel like that's kind of true for like the first half of your 20s, and then I don't know, everyone has different rates, but I do feel like now people later and later into their 20s are finally like growing up. Like it takes a long time. I feel like now like 28, 29 is the age when people start to like grow up a bit more, which is interesting.
Because I feel like when I was younger, I would think of like a 25-year-old as like, that's when I'm gonna get married and have kids. Like you always like think when you're younger, like by this age I'm gonna do this and whatever, but really like I think things are happening a lot later for like people our age.
And do you
like,
think
younger.
Maybe seeing me not do things as quickly has made you change what you perceive as like the timeline of things?
Yeah, I mean, even like thinking of like celebrities, I know that that's like silly and they have like all these different resources and everything, but like when I think of like even the Kardashians, I'm like, Khloe Kardashian is 40 and she's like she has young kids now, and like I think people are doing things a lot later, and obviously the Kardashians, they have like so much money and resources to be able to do that later, but I think it is becoming much more normalized to like do everything a bit later, and like women are realizing that you can have kids in your 40s even and like have kids naturally, or there's lots of other ways you can have kids if you're older.
I think the fear around like as soon as you turn 30 you should be thinking about kids is becoming less and less of a thing now, because you know, there's this horrible term of like geriatric pregnancy, which is, I think, when you're over 35, it's called like geriatric pregnancy. Like you're really old, like you're an old person. But I think the research around that is actually based on, I was watching some video, I can't remember what it was, but it was kind of saying the research about the 35 being a risk factor was based on like 16th century peasants or something. I don't know. It was some weird video that I saw, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's probably probably just some like thing that the patriarchy has decided to put on us. I don't know. I mean, obviously, as you get older, there is slightly more risk, but the actual risk is not that high. So I just feel like everyone needs to chill out. We're all gonna be fine, unless you're like literally going through the menopause. You can still have a baby,
and even after the menopause, like you could adopt. Like there's so many other things you can do, like, and
or just not have a kid.
Some
like,
women like go through menopause early, but then after that there's so many other options you can have. Like you could adopt or surrogate. There's so many options.
Or like, and having kids isn't the only thing
you don't have to have kids.
There's just so many options. So I personally, I'm becoming at peace with not rushing, because I think if you want to have kids, you really need to be certain that you want them, and you need to think carefully about it, because it's a big decision and you don't want to regret them. So I'm just like taking my time. I'm fine to take my time. I'm not in a rush.
There's this creator that I saw on TikTok, and she made a video saying like, guys, how do you know? Because I think she's like 36, and she was like, I don't know, so does that mean I shouldn't have them? Or does this feeling I have of like, does that mean I should? And she was like asking for advice in the comments, and there was lots of different answers. Some people were saying like, if you're wondering at all, that means you should have them. Or someone said, if you're not 100% sure, you shouldn't. Like, and it is really hard, because it's a life-changing decision. And like, I think when I think of having kids, I just imagine like a cute baby, whereas it's like, no, you're going to have like an 18-year-old kid, you're going to have a 20-year-old kid.
You're
like,
having an adult human, you're not having a baby.
You're going to have to deal with like a teenager, and like even like a 10-year-old. Like there's so many stages where your whole life you're going to be, helping your kids maybe go to uni or helping them move. Like there's so many years that are going to be taken over with kids. It's not just like the first 18 years and then you can like be like, cool, bye.
Yeah, it's quite intense.
So it's hard to like know what you want to do, and I think it is really hard.
So I guess like relating to ages, like do you in your head feel like you now have a vision of when you would want to have a kid, if you want to have a kid, or do you just not think that far ahead?
I think it's hard. I think me personally, I think I would like to be married first. I think
I always wanted to have a kid before I was married, but then I just got married.
I think I don't want to like for any like, I don't think it's like wrong to have a kid, but like go ahead, like just
I
me
think
personally.
it's cool to have a kid before you're married.
It's kind of cool. But I think like in the UK, like when it comes to like legal reasons and stuff, like there are a lot of benefits to being like legally married. Like if you do own a house with your partner.
Well, that's what I've heard, but I'm not seeing any of those benefits. Where are the benefits? Can someone tell me what they are?
Well, you've also got to think like if you do get married, there are also things like, you now legally both own each other's money and stuff, like, so you've got to be careful who you're marrying, because you don't want someone to marry you and then they automatically are entitled to half of all your savings and everything. So I think, but in the UK, like legally, there are a lot of benefits to being married in terms of having kids. So I think that is something I would want to think about. And I know like in the UK, like the law it heavily favours like the mothers, which I mean, it's good for us, but like if you're not married and you have kids, I know there can be like, you know, it's very hard for the dad to get custody if you ever split up and stuff. If you're not married, it's much harder. So I think there are lots of like reasons why you might want to think about getting married before having kids, but also you don't have to, and do what you want. But I think me personally, I would like to be married first. I think. So I feel like right now I'm not even thinking about having kids, because I'm like, where's my engagement ring? I need to get married first. But also I'm like, if I get married, I think I would like to have like my dream wedding, which is going to cost a lot of money. So I don't have the money for that right now. So I feel like
so much
to get engaged, I would want to have like enough money to then start planning my wedding. But then sometimes I see like people get married in like central London at just the registry office, and it looks fun. So I'm like, maybe you could just do that.
But you would think that would be cheap, but sometimes it's still expensive. Because you still have to get flowers, you still have to feed your guests.
Do you remember the YouTuber? I think it was do you remember the Anna Edit? and also Lily
Vaguely.
Pebbles. It was
Yeah.
one of those two. I can't remember which one. And I remember they got married in London in like a registry office. And then they just went back to their flat and had like dominoes with like 30 people. And they did like a quiz about the couple. And they like filled their bath with like ice and all the drinks. And I remember she like wrote a blog post about it. And I remember reading that when I was younger, like, oh my God, that actually sounds really fun and nice.
Yeah, there's no reason why you can't do something like that instead.
Yeah, but then I do think, I mean, I'd hope I'd only get married once. So maybe, like, you know, I want to do all the things I want to do at my wedding, like, once. So I want to, like, have enough money to be able to do all those things.
I just feel like you can have the best intentions of, like, you know, we're chill, we don't need a big fancy wedding. And then suddenly you just start doing more and more things.
Josie is speaking from experience. Because I don't know if we even have talked about this on the podcast. Josie is married. I feel like you do say your husband. So,
yeah.
You got married, what, like 2 years ago?
2023, yeah.
But I feel like when you were younger, you would say, like, I don't want to get married. So what kind of made you change your mind?
Well, I don't think I said I didn't want to get married. It was more just like I was never one of those people who dreamt about their wedding or like thought about what wedding dress they were like. I just, in the same way that I didn't really think about like imagining having kids, I've never imagined getting married. It just wasn't like, for me, like,
it wasn't your like dream in life.
Like, I'm just happy by myself or with a partner. It wasn't like my goal. Like, it didn't really bother me either way. But then when you meet someone who you love and you're with for a long period of time, it kind of just eventually makes sense to get married. Like, if you, like, I'd been living with my now husband for like 6 years at that point, and everyone kept saying like, oh, about time, like when we finally got engaged. But for me personally, I felt like it was the right amount of time. I've always wanted to be with someone for a long time before I got engaged, because how do you know, unless you've like lived with someone for years and years and you've been through a few up and downs at that point, that's the only way you're going to know if you're actually going to survive or not. So I personally think it's good to wait a long time.
Yeah, I think that too, because sometimes when I like meet people, I think when I meet people and they don't know my age, and I say I've been with my boyfriend for like 7 years, they're like, oh my God, like, do you not want to get, and I'm like, I'm 22. I've only like, we've got together when we were 15, like that is very young. I think if I was older, there'd even be even more pressure, because people are like, I see people on TikTok be like, girlfriend of 7 years. Like, that shouldn't, like, you shouldn't be a girlfriend of this many years. Like, that's embarrassing. Like, girlfriend of this many years. Like, I
think that's more like an American thing. I don't know if it feels like more common in American culture for like the obsession with getting married after a certain amount of time.
I don't know if is that to do with, because in America there's much more religious people who feel like you should get married to maybe live together.
Maybe. I don't know, but I also just think it's kind of, I think the implication of like, oh, finally, is that the woman has just been sat there waiting, like crying around, waiting for that. But actually, in a real relationship, it's actually a conversation. It's something that you kind of discuss beforehand. Obviously, like the engagement itself,
the proposal can be a surprise, but the engagement shouldn't be a surprise.
Exactly, like you should have discussed it beforehand. You shouldn't just be like, oh my God, I've been surprised. So yeah, the idea that the woman is just sat around waiting is kind of silly anyway. It's just not really how it actually works in my experience. So yeah, I
remember seeing this like thing online when I was younger, and it was like, the way that you should know if you want to be with your partner long term is like, if there was like a little red button there, and if you pressed it, it meant you would be happy together forever, but like you're always going to be together, would you press it? And I remember like thinking back in the day when I was with my like year 7 boyfriend, I remember being like, I don't know if I would press the button. It makes you think like, yeah, if you press the button, it's guaranteeing you would be happy with that partner forever. But sometimes you might not want to press it. And it's interesting to think of like, why would you not press it though? Because you'd be happy forever. And it's kind of a good way to think about like if you should be with that person, because you might not want to press it because you might not see that person as your forever like husband.
And then you might know deep down that you actually wouldn't be happy.
Yeah, it kind of helps you think.
In this game, you would be happy forever.
Forever, yeah. And I feel like when I would date like people, when I had my little year 7 boyfriend, like I wouldn't know. But I feel like
this year 7 boyfriend? I've never heard about this.
Yeah, I had a boyfriend in year 7.
I didn't know this.
But we never kissed. It wasn't really like a boyfriend. But yeah, I feel like that is a good way to think of things if you're like maybe slightly older and like thinking about whether you should stay with that person. And I think there is a lot of pressure of like, don't waste your 20s with the wrong person, or like you should spend your 20s single. So I think that like analogy was really helpful for me when I was like first getting into relationships, is like, would you press the button? And if you would, that's a good sign probably, because like you want to be with them. And I think kind of pressing the button is almost the same as like getting engaged then, because
true.
Getting engaged is like saying you want to be with that person forever. And obviously you can call off an engagement and you can get divorced, but I think it's kind of a similar kind of way of thinking of like, yes, I want to be with this person forever. But doing that so early might not be the best thing. So that's why I think you should wait more years to get engaged if you want to, because as I said, I've like been with my boyfriend 7 years, but when I was with him for 3 years, I was still only 18. Like, that's so young.
And you change so much. I think when you're in your 20s, you kind of feel like you're grown up because you're not a teenager anymore. And you're like,
an adult.
This is me now. I know who I am. And then every single year of your 20s, you look back at the previous year and you're like, who was that person?
Yeah.
And I think that even still happens in the rest of your life. Like, maybe it gradually slows down and you do gradually sort of set into the person that you're going to be. But you always keep changing.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
I still look back at myself from like 2 or 3 years ago and I'm like, what the hell was I doing?
Well, like you're as women, our frontal lobe doesn't develop till we're 25. So I feel like,
What, just women?
oh, I don't know. No, I think women it's at 25 and men it's like later, because their brain is not as good. Like at women it's 25, I think.
Okay.
So like I feel like if I was gonna give advice to friends, I would be like, maybe wait till you're 25
so you're
to
just
get engaged.
sat here on this podcast giving out advice with a frontal lobe that's all hanging open.
Yeah, hanging open.
Your frontal lobe's just like...
Yeah, so maybe everyone should be listening to Josie's advice on this podcast all the time, because my frontal lobe is not developed. But I'm getting there.
What even is a frontal lobe anyway?
It's like the part of your brain that like makes good decisions and stuff.
Okay.
And like it's not fully developed till you're 25. So some people say like, I was with my boyfriend and as soon as I turned 25 I hated him because my frontal lobe like realised what was going on.
My God.
So I think if you are like 23, 24 and you're thinking about getting engaged, maybe you should wait till 25.
It's interesting that I moved to Australia when I was 23. Oh no, 24.
So my
frontal lobe was not
if you're
developed.
thinking of when you turn 25, like what did your brain feel like it changed?
But we were just discussing before we started recording what was your favourite year.
You
and
said
I
25.
said 25. So interestingly, that's
Did everything
probably...
like start to make sense? At
Maybe.
that age?
That's when I felt like things were getting good. So maybe that was because my frontal lobe developed.
There you go. Yeah, I can't wait till 25. I want to see
Yeah.
what changes in my life.
So exciting.
Yeah, but I do think getting engaged early is like, there shouldn't be a pressure to be wanting to get married in your 20s and getting engaged in your 20s. But yeah, like we were saying in our Valentine's Day episode, like if you are single now and being like, oh my God, all my friends are engaged or in these long-term relationships, when you're all like 30, 35, some of you
40,
might end up divorced, some
yeah.
of you might end up with like different partners or different children from different partners. Like
You might die.
well,
Sorry to say, but like things happen in life.
okay, well let's not manifest that. Let's hope we're all going to be living a long life.
But I'm just saying, like, you just don't know what's going to happen in your life.
Yeah, and I think
you know?
just appreciate every single day that comes. If you're single right now, enjoy being single and like find all the good parts in being single and enjoy those. If you're in a relationship, appreciate all the good parts of being in a relationship and enjoy your life with your partner right now.
Sometimes it's easier said than done. But...
Yeah, it's easier said than done. But I do always think, like, wake up every day. If you literally can physically walk out of bed, that's something to be grateful for. Some people can't even do that. If you can shower, if you can go, if there's food in your fridge to make food from, like, that is something to be grateful about. And like trying to like reframe your perspective of like, I have to do this, instead think like I get to do this, like this is so good that I'm able to do these things. So I think trying to be more grateful is always a good mindset to have.
Your frontal lobe is developing.
Oh
Congratulations.
I'm 25. No, I'm gonna be 23, so I'm like 2 years off. But you know what makes me think? I always think about this. This is quite a weird thought to have. You know, when you're born,
Yeah.
most babies are born like on average right at like 9 months, but then some babies are premature, some babies are born later. So I was born late. Like I think I was like almost like a month late. Is that right? Or like a few weeks late?
You can't be a month late. No, you weren't a month late. You were like a week late.
I feel like I was like a month late.
No, it was like 9 days or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
9 days.
Because I was there. I was conscious.
You were there,
I remember this.
So I was born at 9 months and 9 days old, whereas some people are born at 8 months old. So I'm like, how does that factor into like, so say your frontal lobe develops at 25. Does that mean 25 years after you're born, or does that mean 25 years after you were conceived, but then you're born at 9 months old, but then you're actually 0 when you're born, aren't you?
I think this is like a very philosophical question that my brain can't wrap.
Okay,
its
so
head around.
when you're born, you're like 0, right? Because when you're 1, it's a year since you were born.
Yeah, but is everyone exactly the same time from conception to birth? Or is the conception time different for everyone? Are you counting it from when you were literally conceived, like the day the egg and the sperm came together?
Well, that's what I'm asking. Like, does the 25 frontal lobe, is that 25 years and 9 months? Or is that just 25 years after you're born?
Or is it 25 years and 9 months and 9 days?
Well, yeah, for me, maybe. So maybe I need to wait 9 days after my birthday. Or is it 9 days before because I was late?
I don't know. I feel like
I'm getting confused.
This is definitely semantic.
No, but another thing I used to think, people that were born early in the school year, they basically had a whole extra year. Is that right?
Yeah, because
they had a whole extra year at home with their parents before they start school.
I was born at the end of August, like the very end of August. And so
you were
I
quite
was the
young.
youngest. So when I went to school, I
literally turned 4.
I literally stopped being 3 like a few days before.
Yeah, you just turned 4.
So,
whereas the people that were born in September, they're like 4 and 11 months.
They're 5 basically when they go to school.
They're 5. So I always used to think, like, do those people, the people born earlier in the year, their brains are more developed, right, when they're in school. So it's kind of unfair how, like, when we're all doing our GCSEs, it's like, your brain has had an extra year to learn things and to develop.
You could look at it a different way and say you've been being taught things from when you were younger, so maybe your brain has been
at school
learning things from a younger age, so maybe that's actually better. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Say?
Yeah, I would always think, like, my boyfriend was born like earlier in the school year, and I always say to him, like, what did you do with those extra year at home? Like, what did you learn? Or like, you had an extra year with your parents before school started. Like, what did you do with that year? Like,
I feel like this is why I'm such a perfectionist, because I've had to like catch up at all times. I've been catching up my whole life.
There must be some I wonder if there's some studies that have been done of like people born earlier or later in the school year, like how that affects your brain and like your grades in the end.
I feel like it does continue to have an effect even after you're finished school, because also then like you're a bit younger than a lot of your friends, or I don't know, there's just always something, I don't know, it does make a difference, I feel like.
Well, it's the same as how birth order can really affect people. And
look at me, I'm born late in the school year and I'm an eldest daughter. What does that mean? What a mess. That's why I'm such a perfectionist.
Maybe. Well, and I see people say like you end up dating someone with the same birth order as you, or there's certain combinations of like oldest daughter, youngest son, or like things like that, where it's like...
Well, it's the opposite with me and my husband, because he's the youngest son.
Youngest son and oldest daughter.
And I'm the oldest
What does
daughter.
that mean psychologically? Like, you want to look after him because he's the youngest son or something?
No, I don't think in that case, I don't think so.
That's not true to you guys.
Yeah.
But like my partner, we're both the youngest. So I don't know, is there
That's why you're scared of the builders.
Me and my partner are scared of builders. I'm sorry. We've been having like building work done in our house, and we're both like really awkward around the builders, and we just don't know how to act.
It's because you're both like just the youngest.
We're like creeping around
You're like,
them.
Help me,
like,
I'm the youngest.
Do you want a cup of tea? Like really worried. Like,
I'm the youngest. I don't know how to deal with this situation.
There's no older sibling telling me what to do in this situation. Yeah, but I think there definitely probably is some studies. I'm going to look that up after this episode of like what's the best combo. And like, also, I think this is something me and my friend Ella talk about in terms of like boys and dating. Generally, I feel like it's more of like a green flag if a boy has a sister.
Yeah, well, they've grown up having to
see
learn
women
about...
as like not just like sexual objects, and like they like see women as like humans. Whereas some boys, if they only grow up with brothers, they only have known women to be like a girlfriend, not like a friend. Do you know what I mean?
Both of the people we're in a relationship only have brothers.
Yeah, so maybe
where are all the sisters?
Flag. Yeah,
we need more sisters.
I always say to my friends, like, if they start dating someone, and I'm like, do they have a sister? Because it's like a kind of a good sign sometimes, but obviously not always. But yeah, I think there is so much like psychology around when you're born, when your birthday is, your birth order, like so many things. And also like star sign. I mean, I'm not the biggest like star sign I feel like our middle sister Daisy, maybe we should get her on and talk about star signs.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
She knows all the things and like what they mean. But people say like, yeah, being born a few weeks different, or even just one day, if it's like the border of the star sign thing, that can like change your whole personality according to star signs. So
I feel like we're not very
What star sign
people.
are you?
I'm a Virgo, which actually does check out.
What does a Virgo?
Virgos are very like, well, actually, I feel like I'm very unorganized, but it's like because I'm so unorganized, I have to be organized. Does that make any sense?
Like you're naturally very chaotic, so you have to force yourself to control the chaos.
Exactly. So I have a lot of systems in place to control the fact
chaos.
that I am naturally chaotic. Like if you see my email inboxes, you would be shocked. I've got like 50,000 unread emails.
I'm a Gemini, which is meant to be like you've got like two sides.
Why didn't I even know that? That's weird. What is Gemini?
And
I
so
feel like
is
I never know about that.
The like symbol for it is like twins. So it's meant to be, some people say it's bad because it means like you're two-faced. But then you can also see it as like you have two sides, which I think is true. And I think everyone has like two sides. Like there's a version of me that's more quiet and calm, but then sometimes I'm more, outgoing. Like I feel like for me with star signs, I just can't agree with them because I'm like every single star sign there's stuff I could relate to in like what you're meant to be if you're a certain star sign.
The whole point of it is just to get something out of it that resonates with you, but like they're written in a way that anyone could get anything out of it.
You could resonate with any of the things. Yeah. And I think people that are interested in star signs, maybe they like start becoming the thing they're told they are but then I do think like I do understand like surely like the moon and like the earth, like there's so many things, it's like it kind of makes sense that when you're born maybe that could affect.
Yeah, there's a reason why women's cycles are the same length as the moon's cycles.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I should do more research into it and then I would like believe it more.
There is something about it. I don't know what it is.
We should get our other sister Daisy to like explain it to us in an episode, and then
because we're quite clueless and kind of unbelieving, but I feel like that's quite unusual for two like women our age. Like I feel like a lot of women are really into that sort of thing. I don't know why.
I think it kind of goes along with like manifestation and like some people are really into like crystals and like there's so many different things. I think maybe the kind of increase in people believing in horoscopes is kind of maybe because people are less religious nowadays. So it's like something else to believe in.
To think about and hold on to,
Okay, we're going to look at some questions because we've got quite a few questions. Someone said, what's your favourite age so far? So you've got more ages to pick from because you're 31, aren't you?
Yeah,
I'm 22.
Well, I was saying 25 because that was when I first moved to Australia and I was just having a lot of fun. So I think I'll probably say that.
I think it's really hard for me to pick one because I'm like, there was probably some years in my childhood where I was well happy, but like I don't really remember them as much detail. I think I really like the past year, like 22, because I feel like lots of like big life changes happen this year.
Because I've moved back to England.
Oh, well, yeah, maybe that's it. But it's kind of hard because I'm like, it's not necessarily that like life changes necessarily make you the happiest. Like some years I was really happy when I just was at school and lived with my parents and not much changed in my life. But I think I'm definitely more happier living here now that we've moved house, and that obviously happened when I was 22. I finished uni, which I think was a big thing that was causing me not to be happy. So I think that was a good, I was very happy once I finished uni in like November. But yeah, I think maybe so far I would say 22.
That's good.
But I hope that there's more happy. Like I feel like I'm very excited about the future years. So I'm looking forward to like having a new year as my favourite.
Yeah.
Maybe 23.
You're just younger, so you don't have as many years to choose from.
Yeah. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, uni years, COVID.
Oh yeah, that's
and
rubbish.
Then like A-levels, and then my back operations, and then I'm like a young child and I don't really remember.
Yeah.
So that's how I categorize my life. So yeah, I feel like my life's only really started happening now, like my adult life. So the past year has been like the start of my life actually kind of starting. So that's probably why it's my favourite. But so you would say 25?
I think so, yeah, that was pretty good.
But do you hope that there's going to be happier years to come?
I just don't really think about it in that context, I guess. Like, I don't know. I guess so.
Like in my head, I'm like, I feel like the year I get married should be like the happiest year.
Yeah, but then you just realise the reality of like the stress
planning a wedding.
Yeah. So
Or like maybe if I had kids, like when I have my first child, maybe that will be the happiest year.
But then at the same time you'll be exhausted. So I'm just being
There's
really
pros and
negative
cons,
now.
to every like life event.
But I guess I'm just saying, like, it's not so black and white. Like, you're never going to go through a whole year and everything will be perfect.
Yeah.
But then also you're not going to go for a whole year and everything will be terrible. So
yeah, there's always like pros and cons in every single day. Someone said, if life is not good right now, will it get better when I get older? I'm 14. What can I do? Love you.
It will definitely get
Thank
better.
you. Yeah, I'm sorry that you're feeling that way, but I feel like your teenage years especially, the amount of like hormones and like your brain is like changing so much that it's kind of like you're bound to have some periods where you don't feel great, or you as well, just like what you're going through, like going through school years and stuff, like there's so many things that could go wrong, or like things that can happen which will cause you not to be as happy, but I honestly think it does get better. Like honestly, like
100,000%.
every little issue you're having and everything you're worrying about and struggling with at 14, you're probably not going to be thinking those things
you won't
at
even
24.
Remember that you thought that in
No.
like a few years time.
Like the little tiny things that seem so important then, it's not gonna matter. Like I feel like little like insecurities, or like worrying like I gotta do this presentation in school, or like I'm worried about my exams, or like I don't have a boyfriend in school, all those little things that seem so important and take up your whole life and your whole worries, it won't matter.
Yeah.
Especially in 5 years and 10 years.
And not to like downplay those things, because at the time they feel
big things.
big, but just know that they will not matter in a few years time. Yeah.
And if you're worrying in terms of school, we did do an episode of like how we survived our school years and stuff, so that might be a good one to listen to if you want to go back and listen to our advice on that. Okay, so someone said there's a few questions saying like, do you guys ever get sad on your birthday? How to lower expectations for your birthday? Do you get sad on your birthday? And someone also said, is it a fairly normal thing to start to feel the magic of birthdays die down after your 12th or 13th birthday? Yes. I think being sad on your birthday is pretty normal. I feel like normally there's always like a part of my birthday, like even if it's just like half an hour where I'm like get a bit sad. And I think when you're growing older, especially in your late teenagers and 20s, it can feel like, oh my God, I'm getting old, like all this kind of sad feeling. And I think there can be a lot of pressure of like, this is going to be the best day ever. And then if you're like not having the best day ever, it can be like, oh my God, like this is my one chance to have my 15th birthday and it's not going exactly how I planned it.
I think if birthdays are really important to you, then try and communicate that to whoever is, you know, doing your birthday, because there's always going to be someone, like whether it's a parent or a partner or a friend, someone's kind of like in charge of like making your birthday really good. So I think if it's really, really important to you, try and like communicate that to the person that you're with, because some people just don't care about birthdays as much and some people really do. Like me and my husband, like we almost like, for us, birthdays are like the big thing. Like we really make a big fuss about each other on our birthdays.
It's like the event of the year.
And then like for other times, like Valentine's Day and stuff like we were talking about, we're not as into that, and like Christmas and stuff, we're not as like into it. But we only know that about each other because we've kind of communicated that with each other. And like,
well, some like families growing up like really do birthdays, and some families don't really do birthdays. So
a lot of it's like financial as well, like whether you have the money to make a big deal out of it. But there are still ways to make a big splash without having to spend lots of money. Like you can just like make paper chains or like buy a packet of balloons and like throw them all around the house. Like there are ways that you can do it in a cheap way.
Yeah, I feel like when I think of like my friend groups, there are definitely like some people whose birthdays is like an event, and like when I think of the year, I'm like, that's their birthday,
and that's because they make a big deal out of it.
But then there's some friends where I'm like, I actually don't even know when their birthday is, but that's because they don't do anything for their birthday. Care
as much.
I feel like with my friends, it's like maybe the girls do make more of a thing than the boys. Like some of the boys, I'm like, I don't even know when your birthday is.
I do feel like also I've noticed with your group of friends, like they really go crazy with like the event management
I don't know if this is because, so when I was meant to be turning 18, that's when lockdown was. So we all missed our 18th birthday and probably our 19th, and some people even their 20th, like because lockdown went on for ages. So I feel like as soon as we came out of lockdown, it was like, right, this is like my 18th, 19th, 20th all rolled into one, so we've got to go hard.
Like your 22nd birthday was the most crazy elaborate thing I've ever seen. Like it was so next level. It was almost like my wedding.
It wasn't that crazy, okay? We just got Pizza Express.
Yeah, but still everyone dressed up really fancy.
Yeah.
You booked out a room and it was like, You had a special cake.
I had themed menus.
Exactly.
But that's because I love planning. Like, I am a planner. Like, I'm the sort of person where, like, if it's, like, yeah, someone's birthday, I will make sure I get them a present, I get them a card. Like, I feel like I'm just someone who loves to, like, make people feel special and, like, organize things and, like, do a theme. So when it comes to my birthday, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing a theme. Like, I want everyone to have the best time ever.
But are you going to do that this year? Or do you think it's going to be more chill?
Well, so my 21st birthday, that was quite big because I was like, my 21st, because I didn't have an 18th, I was like, okay, my 21st, I'm going to, like, celebrate it almost as if it's, like, my 18th birthday.
Which, by the way, I was going to surprise Grace with a flight home for her 21st birthday, but then COVID ruined everything.
No, my 18th birthday you were going to do.
Oh, no.
For. Yeah.
Wait.
You were there. Were you there on my 21st?
Wait, no, I wasn't there on your 21st.
No.
Sorry,
no.
I just skipped your 21st. I'm talking about your 18th.
18th, yeah. But I think, so my 21st, I was like, I'm going to do a big birthday. I, like, hired, like, a room in, like, a bar in London. I spent loads of money and...
Oh, I remember seeing the videos.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad were there.
We did karaoke. That was fun. And then for my 22nd, I had, like, a sort of, like, dinner kind of party, but I ordered Pizza Express because I didn't want to cook for everyone. And that was really fun. But I think, so this year, I'm having, like, a more chill thing. I haven't even fully finished planning, and it's, like, soon. But I feel like this year I'm being a bit more chill. First of all, I don't want to spend as much money as I have done the past 2 years because I've just moved house. Like, I don't have that much money to spare at the moment. And because I've just moved house, I just want people to come and see my new house because I haven't really had, like, a housewarming party. When we, like, moved and have been doing all this decorating and renovating, I'm, like, in my head, my birthday was, like, what we're trying to get the house, like, presentable for. So I think my birthday this year is going to be more like a housewarming party. It's just kind of, like, having people around to, like, see the house.
Come
and, like,
look at my renovations.
Have food, yeah. So I think it's going to be more chill. I still haven't actually decided what I'm going to wear. Like, I don't know whether, like, what's the dress code. I don't know whether I'll just literally wear jeans and a top.
Just make it chill, yeah.
Or whether, it depends on the weather. I need to check the weather report because if it's, like, sunny, I could wear, like, a little cute dress or something. But if it's going to be, like, rainy, then we'll probably just be inside, so...
Well, the weather's been so good. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I hope so. But I feel like there is a pressure to, like, get the perfect picture on your birthday. I mean, I don't think you feel this at all.
You feel that pressure.
I think I do, but also all my friends. Like, even my friends that don't post, like, online, there's still a pressure to get a good picture on your birthday. That must be, like, a Gen Z thing.
Yeah, I don't feel that weirdly.
Like, but every year it's, like, you need to get the birthday picture. And actually, for my 21st...
Well, maybe.
For my 21st, I, like, took my birthday pictures before. Because my birthday party was, like, a week after my birthday. So I went to a hotel with Casey and, like, took pictures for my 20th to post on my actual birth date. And, like, bought donuts from Donut Time and, like, candles in the hotel room to get pictures. And I feel like that is a thing. Probably because... I mean, obviously, if you're, like, an influencer, it's, like, a thing. It's, like, a work thing. You have to get a good picture on your birthday. So I'm kind of worried this year because I'm, like, maybe I should take some pictures beforehand.
You could just get a nice one in your garden or something.
But I don't want to spend my actual birthday, like, stressing about getting a picture. So that's why, like, that year I did it beforehand because then I'm, like, I don't need to actually, like, worry about, like, getting the perfect picture on my actual birthday. But I feel like you just don't understand.
This is such
pressure.
an influencer thing, yeah.
But my friends that aren't influencers also... try and get a good picture.
Well, when I turned 30, I had some balloons and I got some good pictures, but I wasn't, like, stressing about it.
I think one thing I try and do on my birthday is get pictures of everyone at the party. So I always, like, get my Polaroids for my past 2 birthdays. I've, like, made sure I have lots of film in it so I can get pictures of everyone else, which I think is nice because, like, I feel like in your 20s, like, you might change your friend group or, like, there might be people you don't hang out with as much anymore, so it's nice to, like, see who was at your birthday and, like, have pictures of everyone together and, like, see who was there. And I'm like, oh, I'm not inviting that, or, like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna come this year.
Mum has this video of her 21st birthday.
21st,
we were watching it and she was like, oh, don't remember that person, oh, I know that person, and it was really funny.
So it's nice to see, like, who you were friends with at the time. It's kind of like a time capture of, like, your life that year, like, the people that you might be seeing on your birthday. So I think that is nice to do.
Yeah.
Someone said, what's your favourite birthday memories? I think mine was probably my birthday last year when I was 22. I feel like it was... First of all, it wasn't like, it was the first year where I wasn't, like, drinking loads on my birthday. Like, I think I had, like, a few drinks, but I wasn't, like, drunk. And I think a lot of my friends are sort of the same vibe. And, like, we had dinner, so it was more like a dinner thing rather than a drinking thing. And I think that was really nice because I actually remember my whole birthday. Whereas some of my other years, I'm like, I can't. I know I went on a night out, but I can't even remember what happened or who was there. So I think it's nice to, like, as I grow up, have less alcohol. And we talked about that in our alcohol episode, how, like, now it's nice that I can actually remember, like, what's going on.
I feel like I have a really bad memory, so I'm just sat here trying to remember what I even did for my birthday.
What did you do for your 30th? Because I feel like that's a big one.
Oh, so it was interesting because I got married in July and then I turned 30 in August. So at that point I was just kind of like, just so over
You'd already seen all your friends for your wedding.
But we did still have a really nice time. We just rented out a little area of a pub in Sydney and just had all of our friends come. And quite a few of our friends in Sydney couldn't come to the wedding because it was in the UK, and mainly because some of them were like having babies and stuff. So it was nice to see the people that hadn't come to the wedding at that point. But yeah, and then I think my main memories are just going out for really nice meals. Like that's what I like to do, is just go for like a really overly expensive meal that you would never normally go for because it's too much money. But you can like splash out because it's your birthday.
Yeah, I also feel like it's fun to like force your family to go for a meal somewhere where they might not want to go normally, because it's like, it's my birthday, like you have to come. Like I feel like going, because I'm like vegan, going to like a vegan place or like just like a restaurant you wouldn't normally go with like your family, and to make
like
them
the
go
local
there.
Chinese.
Yeah, that's where we went on my 21st. Yeah, I feel like it's always fun to like go, because you get to pick normally, because it's like your birthday, you're like, you guys have to do what I say today because this is my birthday. So going like somewhere nice for food is always a good memory, I think, on your birthday. Okay, I'm gonna quick fire the questions because there's quite a few on this topic. Someone said move out or save money.
Move out.
Move out. Someone said, did you lose a lot of friends in your 20s?
Yes, but it was okay.
I would say I didn't lose loads, but the few I lost, I'm like, I know where I lost.
Well, yes, but I also gained a lot as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that's true. How's the 20s pressure to have it all figured out and how to deal with it? You don't need to have it figured out.
Yeah.
And no one else does. And even if they look like they do, they don't have it figured out.
No one has it figured out.
No. How old were you when you moved out?
18.
I was 21, I think, because you went to uni.
Yeah.
I didn't go to uni. When is your birthday? Mine is on Saturday, if you're watching this on the day we post it. Yours is in August. Do you still feel a need in your 20s to go drinking and partying all the time? I feel like now I don't. But I feel like I still go out like not partying, but like I go out on a night out with my friends occasionally, but I just don't drink. So I feel like that's kind of the balance I've learned.
I do, but it's way less than it used to be.
Someone said how to deal with the pressure of having kids. You can have a child in your 30s or 40s. There's no pressure to do it in your 20s unless you want to.
Just do what you want to do, and just realize that you're not having a baby, you're having an adult, and that will hopefully put it into more perspective.
Yeah, it's not just going to be a cute little baby, it's going to turn into an adult. Okay, that is all we have time for. Hopefully we answered most of you guys' questions. Happy birthday to me on Saturday.
Happy birthday.
The next episode I will be 23, so that's going to be weird. 23. It doesn't feel too old. I'm not that worried.
Yeah.
I'm not that worried. It'll be fine. But I hope you're all having a really good week. Hopefully this was helpful to you if it's your birthday soon, or just if you're, in your 20s or teens looking for some advice. But make sure you're following the podcast Instagram if you do want to ask us questions for future episodes. It's at mybigsisterpodcast. Or if you have a longer dilemma or want it to be anonymous, you can send us in an email at mybigsisterpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to follow me on my socials, they're all at Grace Tutty. Josie, what are your socials?
Josie V Tutty on Instagram and Josie Violet on YouTube and something like that.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, I hope you guys really enjoyed, and we will see you next week when I will be 23. Bye. Guys.